Hello, have you ever felt trapped in your own mind? Imagine this, it's midnight, everything around you is quiet, but in your head, it's like an intense drama on repeat. The smallest mistakes from the day are analyzed over and over, and the worst-case scenarios for tomorrow just keep showing up. You ask yourself, what if I fail? What if everything goes wrong? What if people aren't honest with me? These what-if questions pile up, leaving us exhausted and worried. But you know, we're not alone in these thoughts. Everyone goes through this in some way. Fortunately, Buddhism offers practical techniques to help us break free from this cycle of negative thoughts and find true peace of mind. Today, we're going to explore how Buddhist teachings can calm the mind and help us live more fully and peacefully. Section 1, Understanding Catastrophic Thinking and Negative Thoughts. There's a concept called catastrophic thinking, when we allow negative thoughts to spiral out of control and make everything seem as bad as it can get. Consider a simple example, you make a small mistake at work. And then, your mind starts creating a whole series of disastrous possibilities. What if my boss finds out? What if I lose my job? What if I can't find another one? From one small mistake, a whole chain of negative thoughts develops, and you feel intense pressure. Our brains are designed to protect us and detect threats, but that same ability sometimes causes us to see risks and dangers, even when they're not really there. In Buddhism, the Buddha teaches that much of what we worry about is just a distortion of reality. Understanding this is the first step to freeing ourselves from anxiety. Section 2, Practicing Awareness and Challenging Thoughts. In Buddhism, mindfulness, or sati, means bringing the mind back to the present, helping us recognize our thoughts rather than letting them control us. Imagine standing on a watchtower, where you see all your thoughts passing by without letting them carry you away. The first step to managing negative thoughts is to recognize them. Have you ever been so worried that you didn't realize just how much it was affecting you? In Buddhism, this recognition is called mindfulness. It's that moment when you notice a negative thought arise and gently remind yourself, this is a what-if thought, just a distortion. The Buddha once shared a story about an arrow. He asked his disciples to imagine being struck by an arrow. The first arrow is the real issue, like a challenging situation or a setback. But then, there's a second arrow, our reaction to the problem, often in the form of worry, fear, or anger. This second arrow, which we shoot ourselves, is the true source of our suffering. If we can let go of the second arrow, we save ourselves from unnecessary pain. Section 3, Focusing on Control and Acceptance. After recognizing negative thoughts, the next step is to distinguish what's within our control and what isn't. This is where Buddhist teachings on acceptance come into play. Ask yourself, is this something I can change? If the answer is yes, think about the steps you can take. But if it isn't, then it's time to let go. Accepting things outside our control frees us from being trapped in worry. Imagine a river with a strong current. We can't control the current, but we can learn to swim with it. Buddhist teachings emphasize that instead of trying to change what cannot be changed, we should choose to accept it. This helps us avoid exhaustion and cultivate inner peace. I remember a story about a monk who lost all his possessions in a fire. Instead of panicking, he simply said, "All things come and go." This isn't a lack of feeling but an understanding that attachment to things we can't control is the root of suffering. Section 4, Practical Techniques for Reducing Anxiety. Buddhism isn't just a philosophy, it's also about practical action. Here are 2 techniques you can use to calm your mind and reduce anxiety. Mindful breathing. Mindful breathing is a simple yet powerful technique taught by the Buddha. When you feel overwhelmed, take a few moments to focus on your breath. Inhale slowly, hold briefly, then exhale. Feel each breath and focus on this gentle rhythm. Breathing brings us back to the present moment and helps to calm our restless minds. Let's try it together now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, hold briefly, and then exhale. Repeat a few times. Do you feel a bit more peaceful? The Buddha taught mindful breathing as a way to bring balance back to the mind. Setting a worry time. Another effective method is to set aside a specific time each day to worry. Instead of letting negative thoughts take over the day, dedicate about 15 minutes in the evening to think through any concerns. Set a timer, and when it's up, promise yourself you'll let go. This practice sets a boundary for worrying and prevents it from dominating the entire day. Conclusion, real-world application and key takeaways. Let's recap. Through mindfulness, we learn to recognize and challenge negative thoughts. We learn to focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. This way, we gain freedom in our minds and peace in our hearts. Buddhism reminds us that peace isn't found by changing the world around us, but by changing how we respond to our own minds. Before we end, I'd like to share one final story about a monk crossing a turbulent river. A passerby asked, "Aren't you afraid of drowning in such strong currents?" The monk replied, "It's not the river that scares me, it's my mind's refusal to flow with it." This story reminds us that true peace comes from within. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I encourage you to try these techniques for a week, practice mindfulness, set a worry time, and focus on what you can control. Notice the impact it has on your mind. Embrace the Buddhist path to a more peaceful and balanced life. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more Buddhist wisdom and practical mindfulness techniques. Namaste, and see you in the next video.